My name is Julieann Hartman, and welcome to the Unpopular Mom. I'm just kidding. My name is Sophia Hartman, and welcome to the Unpopular Kids with our moms. Also here with me, we have Sandy and Sunny Caracciolo. They are as unpopular as it gets here in Southern California. No, they're wonderful friends of ours that also work for our garden cartoon. And then This is my beautiful mother, who you know, Julieann Hartman.
Hello.
And the tables are kind of turned here. Me and Sunny are going to be running the show a little bit in this episode. And I actually love to ask questions to you guys as moms, because
that's really good.
But not only can we talk about from the kid perspective of what it's like to be raised by parents that choose the very narrow, small path, the path that leads to righteousness, and inevitably, but also just what it's like. I think my biggest question to start is just like, what is it like to be a mom with no community? Because when you have little kids, it's all about mops and get your kids into jungle gyms and stuff like that, where moms can really kind of like cohabitate with each other, right? You get parenting tips or whatever. But once you start hitting the grade school era, you lose a ton of friends, and rarely do you find other PFC or PTA or however you want to say it, moms that really want to stick to your guidelines. So the floor is open. What was it like to not have a ton of mom friends because of your choices?
Lonely. It was lonely. It was a lonely walk because I chose a different walk, even though my kids went to private school their whole lives. And you think you would have a ton of Christian mom friends. Wasn't the case, so my sisters, because I had 6 sisters, they were all my best friends, so we all thought the same way, and we grew up Catholic. And as we grew into Christianity and we got into the schools, I thought it was going to be terrific and great. And you know what, it was lonely, but I'm a very strong-minded person, and I knew what I wanted for my family and my children, and that's the structure I chose to choose. It was a lonely walk. It was even with, family, in-laws, cousins, it's solitude. You know, it was by myself. I had to figure it out by myself, how I had to do it, how I wanted to do it. And you know what? I couldn't be happier.
You're reaping the benefits now, for sure.
So
Sunny, we're not twins, by the way. We get mistaken for each other.
Yes.
Quite often.
All the time.
And our names start with the same letter, so that doesn't help.
Not at all.
I know your experience a lot more of just like, certain, you had moms come at you sometimes.
Yes, I did.
For the way that I was,
but also
compared to the others.
You were already a Christian, so I just was like learning.
That's true.
About all this. I didn't know.
We got saved 2 years apart, which I was 5 and you were 37.
Wow.
So.
Yeah. So I really was just trying to figure things out myself. And so, I would gravitate to more of a worldly view, but I knew that wasn't right. Like I knew, because I just entered into, reading the Bible and learning about the things of God. But I remember I was just like the other ones that were unsaved, because I didn't really know anything better than that. So, but when I really started learning about the Lord and seeing other examples of people that were older than me, their kids were older, but I wanted the outcome of what they had, that's when I was like, well, how do you do this? And I said this on our program before, but when I was not saved, I was literally changing her diapers. Carly was a little bit older. They're both laying on the bed. And I hear an audible voice that says, prepare them for greatness. And I did not know what that meant. Like, first of all, I was saying, who said that? I'm like looking around the room going, did someone just say, how did that happen? So I didn't know, at the time it was a little weird, because I'm like,
you're like, I'm hearing voices.
Yeah, because my husband was not there. And I said, oh, that must be God. He just told me to, and at that point I said, I don't know how to do that. You're going to have to show me. Well, then obviously I got saved a little bit later after that. And then I started hearing the voice of the Lord. But my friends, I was learning, they were not at all. There was no Christian young moms that I knew, that had kids.
Moms didn't exist 20 years ago.
And so, or maybe it did, but I didn't know where to go find them. We went to a church that was over an hour away. And I would have never gone for help there, because it was just too far, and it wasn't even in our community. Yeah. But I would know that some things weren't right, but I couldn't explain it, in the very beginning.
Well, your spirit now has like a a check, like you were getting checks and you're like, what's a check? You
Yeah,
know,
and I had a few moms where I would just, I would talk about the Word of God. They'd say, oh, yeah, I feel the same way. But I'm like, but I don't think we're talking about the same thing. And so I kind of had to navigate through that a little bit. And then when you see people's lives, and listen, I don't drink or smoke or do any of those things only because I made a choice not to. I stopped doing it before I got saved. So it wasn't like I got saved and I stopped doing all those things. No, I decided not to drink anymore because I didn't want to waste a day of being hungover with our girls.
Yes.
Like, why would I do that? Because when I would drink, I would be so hungover, and then I'd be in bed all day. Like, that's gross, and I just didn't want to do that. But I had friends that did, and I just couldn't understand it. So I had to start literally pulling myself away from some of them, and just, saying to our girls, like, hey, the Smith house down the street, they do that. But the Hartman house does not do that. Mm-hmm. And we just had to put our foot down and say, this is how we're going to do it. And like we said earlier, if you guys want to come over, great. If you didn't want to come over and they want you to go there, we ain't doing that. So
well, thank you for saying all that, because and thank you. Let's just say thanks to our moms.
Yes.
Thanks for raising me the way you did. No, I'm grateful. I mean, obviously now as I'm 25, you're 26.
Yes.
Yeah. It's interesting. It goes Carly's 27, and then Sunny's 26. I'm 25, and Charlie is 24. So we were all like, and we never met until very recently.
I know.
And we don't live very far from each other, which is kind of crazy. No, I'm so grateful now at 25 years old. Not that I'm, all of wisdom in and of itself, but just the experiences that I have had with the Lord and the experiences that I have had nannying, right? I nannied for 5 years. And, you parent the way that parent parents. You don't get to inflict. Right. I had a kid one time that I was nannying that the mom literally told me, give him anything he wants. And I was like, what? And she was like, I told you to give him everything he wants, anything he wants. And so I was like, oh, okay. Like, I don't know what to do with that. And so praise God, that won't be my parenting tools. Yeah. But anyways, I think, Sunny, maybe we can kind of chat about this together. But loneliness for you, right? Because there's a lonely walk as the kid, right? And I was always told, like, just blame it on me. Like, if you can't go somewhere, just tell them mom said you can't go. And it was the thing. It was the best. I can just tell you, it was the best out possible. You guys were the enemy, basically. And I was like, I really want to go, but my mom won't let me go, right? And so always respectfully, but just very much like, it gave me such an out. It was so helpful because I didn't have to explain to them why I just wasn't going to partake. And so, what was it like being a lonely kid? I mean, you can have, when I say lonely, I don't mean necessarily like physically lonely. Like, you can have people around you, but in your heart, you're the only one advocating.
Yeah, you're different. You're completely set apart in a place where to make friends, you gotta blend in, you gotta fit in. But yeah, I had friends that would one day love me. I'd come back the next day, hated my guts. Like, they wanted me gone, and I would call my mom on the phone and cry. Like, I am completely by myself. Please come get me. I'm sitting at lunch all by myself. Like, that's the life I lived for years. And that's just what it was like. It's like you're in a friend group. They love you. All of a sudden, you're not doing exactly what they're doing. They hate you. And it's completely different. And that's pretty much it.
There was lots of jealousy and animosity built up. Me and my sister would talk about this all the time, but we were just like, everybody was jealous, especially with the relationship. Like, you and Charlie are super close. Me and Carly.
Well, now we are.
Yeah, but like, we were, people don't have good relationships with their siblings. It's not a common thing to find people that are just like, my sibling's my best friend. And Carly and I were so close, and we still are so close, but just crazy. Like, I would get, I would get laughed at, or I would get judged for having a good relationship with my sister. It was like all these good things, all this good fruit that would come out of my life. Because people wanted it, but they couldn't have it, they would just make fun of it and poke at it. And Carly and I did not go to the same high school, and so I didn't have, like, my older sister to rely on, because Carly was, like, a perfect student. She was absolutely perfect. Just got straight A's and the whole thing. And I was a really good student as well, but Carly was...
I was going to say, like...
No, but she was more academically, just she loved it, I didn't. So.
Well, let me just say this, though, that Sophia was just a natural at everything. Carly had to work and, like, literally pull her brains out of her head, daily to try to figure out, some of the homework that she would get. And Sophia would spend 5 minutes and she'd be done. And Carly would just cry and say, why can't I be smart like Sophia? Because she would sit on her desk for like 8-9 hours after she gets out of school, right?
Yeah.
And she did. It wouldn't come naturally, but it did for her. And she'd be like, okay, 10 minutes, bye. I'm going to go and play. I'm going to go play with my friends now. And so that was rough because she was just so easy to just get things.
Yeah, and you guys got that with my kids. Like Charles was always like, well, Sonny's the smart one. And when you're raising children, somebody's either going to be the smart one, somebody's going to be the fun one. You have to find your place.
We can't be both.
I sat my kids down. I was like, we're doing homework. We're not doing anything else. We're doing homework. Well, they excel in, their grammar.
Yes.
Great. And that's what I wanted. It was like, we are schooling first, guys, and playtime comes afterwards. And, and they had such different personalities. And that, trying to find the mix, the balance is important. But fun. What fun. Because, like, how did you... Because they didn't have the greatest relationship growing up together. Because
I was mean, he was mean.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, and we used to tell them all the time, you're going to grow up, you're going to be the best of friends.
Yeah.
Right.
We used to laugh. We used to be like,
So
no.
how did you do that? How did you, when you had your girls?
They just didn't, my sisters and I fought horribly. I mean, just bad. And, saying even like you had your sisters, I didn't even have my sisters here because I got married later in life and my kids were much younger than theirs. And so I had to, rely on any other person except for a family member. But with them, they just never argued. I mean, Carly just loved her so much, and she would just hang on her. And they'd be in their car seats together, and I would see Carly would always go like this to her cheeks. She always had to touch her cheeks, and Sophia would be like, "Mommy, Carly's touching my cheeks. Tell her to stop." But she just would look at Sophia with so much love in her eyes, and she would love her so much. And so if they would bicker about anything, and really was very minimal, I say, "Kiss your sister right now."
But we also, the house we're sitting in right now, where our studio is upstairs, we did not have walls in our bedrooms. So it was Carly's room, my room, and it was this thing we called the middle playroom, is what we named it. And so it's still called that to this day, the middle playroom. As we're adults, I'm like, it's in the middle playroom closet. But we did not have walls, and so if we got mad at each other, there was no slamming. There was no, I'm going to go sit in my room, because we didn't have rooms. We had a room. That was the two of us.
Yeah.
And I think that's what spared us of a ton of, how can you be mad at somebody when they're in the room with you? You know what I mean? And we would wave at each other from our beds, but I would just, hats off to my sister. I think if I had been raised with anybody else or somebody similar to my personality, I think it would have been hard, because I was definitely I was the leader of the pack. I was the one that was like, we're gonna do it this way, or no way at all. And Carly was always like, okay. Carly was just the best sister. But then it really taught me how to no, let's do what Carly likes today. And we'd have a lot of discussions of hey, Carly's different than you, right? She's not bad, you're not bad. You're both just polar opposites of each other in most areas. And so I think when you're raising kids that have different personalities, or 3 kids, or 4 kids, or 10 kids, some people have a lot of kids.
I couldn't handle it.
Yeah, but some people have a lot of kids, and like you said, you sit down, and I think it's one of those things where it's if you acknowledge the fact that there's a difference, it's better than just trying to sweep differences under the rug and be like, no, go do the same thing. We're going to dress you the same. We're going to make you do the same sports. Right. They never made me and Carly do the same thing. We did karate. That was the only thing her and I did together. But other than that, it was I was sports queen. Carly wanted to do sports, but she's not very athletic. So she couldn't play. But her hand-eye coordination was terrible. But you know what Carly was really good at? Carly was really good at mock trial. Carly was really good at just all these brainiac things that she could do that I just didn't want to do. I was like, there's no way you're going to catch me doing that. So acknowledge the differences, celebrate the differences, but also encourage the differences of no, we're going to, Sophia, we're going to go watch Carly's debate thing. Or Carly, we're going to go cheer Sophia on in volleyball. It's you bring everyone to everything, and I know your family's amazing at that too, is your family goes as a unit. And I used to laugh and I used to hate sometimes my mom would be like, nope, if we all can't go, we're not going at all. It was like, what? that doesn't make any sense. But now I'm so grateful because, my sister's getting married, life is changing. And guess what? She's lived in Nashville for 3 years, so we had to, I cherished the years when it was just the four of us doing stuff together. My grandma was always with us too. And so life changes, things change, but thankfully with the Lord at the center,
Yes, but it's so important though is when you create that foundation, because that they will stand on for the rest of their lives and they will repeat that. So we know that we are given a wonderful, just a legacy of grandchildren, great-grandchildren coming that will be under the same respect and honor for the Lord. So do you want to close it out?
I'll close it out. How about you close it out, Sunny?
Yeah, Sunny.
She's like, no, well, we thank you guys for coming on to this lunch break today. We hope it encouraged you. And just know, whatever your children are doing currently, right now, that the Father, if you will trust your Father, He will help you raise your children, no matter what they're going through right now. Your children could be 35 and off the rails right now. It doesn't matter. They're still your child. You still have a mama bear heart or a papa bear heart for them. The Father sees it. He knows what's going on, and He will show you what to do if you'll trust Him. And so, from all of us here at the Unpopular Mom, we would just like to say thank you, and we'll see you next time.